Hello, how are you? Thank you for listening. This is the 13th episode of Bleep Bleep Bloop Bloop. This is another one in a series of audio episodes during what I like to call my great migration. It's a move and it's a big pain in the butt. I'm still packing. I'm not packing books, not packing DVDs. Now I'm packing up my mare's bow, my workshop / laboratory / office, home office. And it is a pain in the butt. It's different. It's a different set of problems than packing books. But first, I'd like to read you a list of entrees from a menu. Horse consommé with millet. Dog liver skewers a la maître d'hôtel. Minced saddle of cat. Mayonnaise. Braised shoulder and fillet of dog. Tomato sauce. Cat stew with mushrooms. Dog cutlets with peas. Rat salami. Sauce Robert. Leg of dog with a side of baby rats. Pepper sauce. Begonias au jus. Plum pudding with rum and horse marrow. So, those are real dishes, or were real dishes. They're from a menu from Paris during the siege of Paris in the Franco-Prussian War, which was, it lasted about 6 months from July 1870 to late January 1871, and it was a total fiasco. The war was declared by France, and they got wrecked by Prussia, and Prussia in the northern German Confederacy dominated by Prussia, and the southern German states merged into what became Germany as the war was drawn to its very successful close. So during the siege of Paris, they ran out of meat. They ran out of a lot of things, but they ran out of meat. And then the butchers went to dogs and cats, and they tried rats, like some of the dishes mentioned that I just read aloud in the list. There included rat dishes. But people were understandably kind of wary of consuming rat meat for health reasons, for, concerns, fears of disease. Totally, the anxiety is completely understandable. I wouldn't eat rat. I've eaten squirrel once. Okay? With free range. It was free range squirrel. All right. So that's from a Wikipedia article about the siege of Paris. The same article, they have right next to that list of entrees, they have a photograph or a photostat or a scan of a menu. It's a Christmas menu on the 99th day of the siege. And this is, I'm reading the caption. Unusual dishes include stuffed donkey's head, elephant consommé, roast camel, kangaroo stew, antelope terrine, bear ribs, cat with rats, and wolf haunch in deer sauce. So what occurs to me is that, because, by the way, you're wondering, wait a minute, kangaroo, antelope, elephant, what? Okay, donkey, maybe they have donkeys in the city in the 1870s, in the mid-19th century, maybe, right, in Europe. But you're probably wondering about those animals. So Wikipedia says that after they ate all the dogs and the cats, I guess, except for the ones people really defended, and then they tried the rats with mixed results, or mixed with kind of wary, kind of reluctantly attempting to consume the rats. So once they ran out or ran low of those, they say they went to the zoo, and they mentioned one zoo by name. I don't speak French. I'm not a francophone. I'm doing my best here. But it looks like, if I'm just reading it phonetically in English, in American English, say Jardin des Plantes, or something. But I know French would be Jardin. So Jardin space DES space PLANTES. And then and the Wikipedia says, even Castor and Pollux, the only pair of elephants of Paris, were slaughtered for their meat. So consommé is like a watery soup sort of thing, like a broth, right? So the thing is this. That menu. I don't know how many places in Paris on that day or around the vicinity were offering dishes that purported to be contain some sort of meat or some broth made with the bones or something of elephants, for example, or a kangaroo or camel or any of the other animals from the zoo. And then remember, there were only 2 elephants. So for me, I'm suspicious. I would be very skeptical if I would have no way of knowing if the consommé actually had been made with bones or whatever tissue from an elephant. They can say it, right? It's brown. It would be brownish water, basically. Who knows? Consommé, the whole thing. Consommé and bisques and things like that. Totally, I'm not into it. I'm a stew. If you're going to give me a soup, give me a stew. I want some meat and potatoes in there. I'm not big on potatoes because it's just like empty carbs. But, you know what I mean. I want a hearty stew. I don't want consommes or like watery broths or anything. I'm not into that. I think the weird fad around bone broths recently, to me, it just feels like a huge scam. Anyway, so it's kind of funny. So why am I talking to you about the Siege of Paris? How did that even come up? So it came up this way. I've been, while I'm packing, earlier I packed all the books. All the books and DVDs have been moved, okay? But then I found some books and DVDs that I hadn't packed. I found one book, and then one book was delivered after I'd packed and everything. And the DVD... So where was I? I said that I had found books and DVDs. So one of the books was delivered after I packed everything. So that doesn't really count as a found book. And I won't tell you the title of that book because I'm reserving that. That's for a future audio episode, discussion of that book. But the other book that I thought I had packed, but I had found it was in my office. I had set it aside and been reading at idle moments. It was the Viking Portable Library. The Portable Maupassant. So Guy de Maupassant. So Guy, G-U-Y, like guy, like a hey guy, Guy de Maupassant. Maupassant. Along with Chekhov, Anton Chekhov, the Russian author, Guy de Maupassant is considered like perhaps one of the fathers of like the short story, the creator of the short story as a art form. Okay, so I have this book. It's the Portable Maupassant, and I may throw up. I have some photos. I think I may throw up photos of my copy. My copy is printed in 1947. The text is perfectly intact. The pages are great. They're a little bit, I guess they would call it tanning of the paper, but otherwise wonderful. And it was printed in 1947. And the inside flap of the dust jacket tells you, if you enjoy the portable, you may also be particularly interested in the Portable James Joyce, edited by Harry Levin. Selections from Ulysses and Finnegan's Wake. All of Dubliners, a portrait of the artist as a young man, and collected poems. 753 pages. The Portable Oscar Wilde, edited by Richard Aldington. The Picture of Dorian Gray. Salome, The Importance of Being Earnest. De Profundis, and The Selfish Giant. Complete. Unpublished letters, poems, reviews, anecdotes. 698 pages. And the Portable Myth James Joyce was number 30 in the series. The Portable Oscar Wilde was number 16. Number 28, the next one, is the Portable D.H. Lawrence. I'm not a big fan of D.H. Lawrence so far, so I'll skip that one. Then number 12, the Portable Poe, edited by Philip Van Doren Stern. The best stories and poems, articles, criticism, and letters, an interesting selection of the endless opinions, biography, chronology, and notes. 700 and I think it's 62 pages. I'm having a little bit of difficulty there because I'm reading through the plastic cover that I wrapped the book. It's not adhering to the book or the dust jacket. It's carefully done so it doesn't touch or anything. So, and then the back they have more, and the back flap they have some more stuff. So super interesting. It's a series of books. They still, I think, into the 80s, maybe even now, they may still the Viking Portable so-and-so. Viking Press may still exist. I don't know. I don't get a lot of contemporary fiction. I have no idea. I'm not going to look on Amazon now to see if they still are persisting. But I've seen Viking Portable Library books, and they're kind of small format. I put my hand, you could hear me. That's me smacking the closed cover of the book with my right palm. They're about, if I put my hand on it, palm outstretched, fingers together, not splayed out. It's basically the size of my hand. My middle finger extends a little bit beyond the top of the front cover, but it's pretty close to the size of a hand. And this one on the front cover is a Portable Maupassant, a world favorite storyteller in one comprehensive volume, 20 novelettes and stories, one complete novel, A Woman's Life, essays and letters, including the correspondence with Marie Bashkirtseff, selected and edited by Louis Galantieri. Louis, Lewis, not Louis for a change. Galantieri, Galantiere. So the weird thing, when I first looked at this, I was kind of intrigued by, it says essays and letters, including this. So they think it's important to put on the cover, including the correspondence with Marie Bashkirtseff. So I was curious about that. I haven't read the whole book cover to cover. I've dipped in, as is my wont, as is my habit, my pattern. I dip in and dip around and look around. So, for example, this volume does include Boule. Is it? How to pronounce it? Boule? Wait a minute. Sorry, click. I'm going to look up how to say this correctly. I don't want to mess it up. Boule de Suif, I think. Prounciation. Boule. Okay, Boule. Right. Okay, not Boule, sorry. So the title is Boule and the space DE space SUIF. Boule de Suif. Boule de Suif. And you're like, well, what the F is Boule de Suif? So Boule de Suif, depending on how to translate it, is like ball of lard, ball of fat, or dumpling, or butterball. And I think that is a nickname or a term for the main character or the focus of the story. So again, I've not read the story. I've read the summary, okay? What is the story about? It's about the eponymous Boule de Suif, I think, is a hooker. She is before you'd say prostitute or hooker. Now you'd say sex worker, okay? Or courtesan. I guess some people, heirs, would say courtesan. So, it's one of a bunch of stories that Maupassant wrote. He wrote about the Franco-Prussian War. And one of the funny parts is, in this book, the Viking Portable Press book, there's letters where he's writing, I think, to his mother, and he's basically saying France is going to whoop Prussia's ass when the war is first declared, it first starts out. But anyway, so he wrote some stories set during that time. And in this one, the ball of fat, I think, is the hooker, and a bunch of other people, some lower middle class, some upper middle class. They decide they're from Rouen, the city, Rouen in France. It's just been occupied by the Prussians. So these residents of Rouen want to leave. They want to go somewhere else. They want to go to Le Havre. I don't know how to pronounce it. They want to go to another city, okay? So they hire a stagecoach. And it must have been a big stagecoach because multiple people and they got their goods and stuff like that. There's a factory owner, there are nuns, and some like, I think, nobility. Some, like, and also some lower middle class people, and this hooker. And they all know she's a hooker. And according to the summary, during the first part of the trip by stagecoach, they're all giving her a side eye, or being like, they're disdaining her. And then the trip is dragging on because of the weather, the roads, or whatever, because of the conflict and the chaos. And they get hungry. And then she busts out a picnic basket. And she shares her food with all of them. And then they're big fans of the butterball. And then they get to Le Havre, or they get to some town, it may have been Le Havre, and they find out the Prussians have beaten them there. They occupied that place too. So then they're stuck there, and the leader of the, I don't know if it's the entire garrison of that town, or just a unit who's captured them, the unit part of the occupying force, the officer in charge, he will not let them go. He puts them under house arrest in this place, and it's not nice. They want to go. They want to continue the journey, go somewhere else, I guess. And he won't let them go. And eventually the butterball, the sex worker, tells the other Rouen residents that the reason they're being held is because the Prussian officer wants to ravish her. He wants to have her. He wants to know her in the biblical sense. And she is unwilling. Okay? So now the mood turns back against her again. So they didn't like her because she was a low sex worker, a low class person. Then she fed them all, and they appreciated her. And now they find out that her reluctance to be despoiled by this Prussian officer is what seems to be holding them there, preventing their further progress onto some other place where they would rather be. So then they begin to blame her and kind of urge her to accommodate the Prussian officer's request, accede to his request, accommodate his desire. Okay? Eventually she does, and they still don't like her after that. They still think she's, ugh. They look down on her after that. So that's the thing. So why am I going into this? Because that's like that is one of Maupassant's most famous stories. It's one of his, sometimes they say it's his first masterpiece, okay? So it's funny because I'm not a Maupassant expert. I'm just a dabbler. So, but when I was reading through this book, I went to the correspondence. He has diary entries in here, and I went to the correspondence, and I wanted to see the Bashkirtsev. I wanted to see why it was so remarkable or so notable that they called it out. They told you on the cover of the book that this would have some letters between Bashkirtsev and Maupassant. So I got into it a little bit. It seems that during the period when they get into correspondence, she is like in her early 20s, I think, and she has read some of his stories in newspapers. So that was the thing that used to happen in the 19th century and even the early 20th century, I think. Newspapers in urban areas, they would publish stories of fiction. It wasn't all just the news that's fit to print. And it wasn't just advertisements and actual news or editorials. There used to be a lot of stuff in there. Okay, even though at the same time, contemporaneously, there were magazines, literary journals, and things like that. I guess there were some people who only read newspapers, didn't subscribe to literary journals or magazines, and they would still want to have fiction to read. Okay, so they published a lot of fiction newspapers, including in the United States and in France. You can go back. The Library of Congress has I can't remember the name. I'm not going to look it up now, but they have an archive of old 19th century and early 20th century newspapers. It's very spotty. It's very partial. They don't have a lot. They mostly don't have anything, which is insane given that in old times, to get copyright, urban newspapers would have all of their editions delivered to the Library of Congress to be held there. But to turn out the Library of Congress, they microfilmed a lot of them, and I think they just discarded a lot of the ones they didn't microfilm without ever recording them at all. They just got burned. It's the old double fold. I think the book is called The Double Fold, about how there was it seems as though it was a conspiracy to get rid of printed material. It's ongoing. It started in like the 1950s or 60s when companies had sold the equipment and the materials for microfilming and turning things into microfilm and microfiche. When they began trying to, they created this movement where it was just known that all paper turned into crumbly garbage, and they would advertise their wares by going to libraries, finding old books, and then taking a page and doing a double fold on one of the corners of the page, folding it one way and folding the other, and then then they say, see, I guess even if it didn't snap off, they say, look how brittle it is. It's all practically snapped off. This book is doomed. You need to scan it. You need to cut it out of the binding and scan it and turn it into microfilm. Photograph. It wouldn't have been scanning back then. The way we have now, it would have been photograph. And turn it into microfilm or microfiche. And then also think of all the shelf space you'll reclaim or whatever. You know how it was. So anyway, so the Library of Congress has this archive. You can find, I don't know, like old newspapers, 19th century newspapers, Library of Congress archive. You can find it. It's the web interface is not great, but you can still use it. It's still useful. It's still very interesting. You see a lot of them have fiction in the newspapers. So at this time, Maupassant in France, he was publishing in Le Figaro. He's publishing fiction in Le Figaro and in other newspapers. So this young woman, Marie Bashkirtsev, she's a Russian emigre. She and her mother, they had traveled around Europe during, I think, the Franco-Prussian War. They zipped to Geneva, Switzerland, to be for safety's sake, because Paris was taken, and about a fourth of the country was occupied. It's a little bit. It's quite similar to what happened about 70 years after that. Anyway, but they were in Paris, and she's reading these newspapers, and in one of the newspaper editions, Maupassant replies to a letter to a correspondence he had received through the editors of the paper. Someone had written the editors and written to Maupassant care of the editors, and he'd reply to them or something. And she's like, oh wow, I guess she thought he'll do that. So she's a young Russian emigre living in Paris with her mom. Mom and dad separated. Dad's back in Russia still. They're noble. Her mother comes from noble line. Her father's a Russian noble, and it's 1870s. It's before the Russian Revolution. It's decades before the Russian Revolution, 40 years. So, and she's a painter, and she's keeping a diary. Her diary later was published. It was a big deal. Much was made of her diary. There was only the second woman's diary published in France after Eugénie de Guérin. I can't pronounce that. If you look up Marie Bashkirtsev, Marie Marie Bashkirtsev, tongue-tied, Bashkirtseff. If you look that up on Wikipedia, you'll see they mention this was only the second women's diary published in France, and the first was this other woman whose name was Eugene. Wait a minute, how do you pronounce it? Okay. Eugenie? Okay. So Google AI nonsense says that this other woman's name was pronounced Eugénie de Guérin. In English, there are like little accents here and there on the E's, on two of the E's. It's Eugenie space DE space GUERIN. All right. So they said she's mystical or whatever. You can find her journals, her diary, and you can find Marie Bashkirtsev's diary, and you can find volumes that are their collected correspondence. All of that for each of them. You can find those on archive.org if you want to check it out. It's interesting. So anyway, I'm in my Viking portable edition of Guy de Maupassant, and I'm near the back of that selected correspondence. And you see in these letters between Marie Bashkirtsev, she signed herself as RDG for reasons I don't know, and I haven't looked into it yet. And I'm not going to know in time for this podcast. So you can do a little bit of snooping yourself, and you can tell me in the comments. You can leave me a comment along with a thumbs up or a like or a whatever, and also ring the bell, subscribe. Okay. Anyway, so I may look it up, but I may not. For the benefit of anyone else listening, you can look it up and see why does she sign herself as RDG. Okay. So the letters are given. They say from RDG in quotes. From, quote, RDG, close quote, to Guy de Maupassant. And they tell you the date, March 1884. And sometimes he'll tell you the location. When he replied to that first letter, it says Cannes in March 1884. I'm not sure the pronunciation of that either. It's the city. They often mention the film festival there, Cannes nowadays. But back then, there's no film festival because there's no film, or very, very early in history of film anyway. So she writes to him under a pseudonym or not giving her name, and he has to reply to basically a P.O. box. It's a P.O. station in Paris. In Madeleine, she signed her. So this is the intro to the series of letters in this Viking portable. It says she signed her first letter, quote, RDG, Poste Restante, Madeleine P.O. Station, Paris. So it says here in the book, the purpose of the correspondence, as she wrote later to Edmond de Goncourt, Goncourt. How to say that in French? I don't know. Sorry. Freedom fries. All right. Was to find a man of letters to whom she could bequeath the diary she had been keeping. That diary, the journal of Marie Bashkirtseff, was published after her death, translated into English among other languages, and widely read. Marie Bashkirtseff's letters are given below, together with Maupassant's replies. All right. So you may be, if you're a quick-witted fellow or a quick-witted lady, you may be wondering, wait a minute, she's in her 20s. She's trying to find somebody to take custody of her diary after she dies? What? Okay, spoiler, she had tuberculosis, and she died of tuberculosis at age 25. At the time, when it was announced, they thought she died at age 23. Her mom had fibbed. To make her seem smarter for her age, her mom had shaved 2 years off of her age. But still, she was a remarkable painter. You can look up her paintings. They're beautiful. No sarcasm intended. They're beautiful paintings. And her diary, I can't tell how it would have read in original French. She was Russian, but she kept her diary in French, I believe. I don't know what it would have sounded like. They say it's like, to read the Quran in translation is whatever. You basically should read it in its original. So I don't read French. So the translation, she seems like a very intelligent, very clever young woman. But she died of tuberculosis. And she knew she had tuberculosis. She was sick for a while. And the funny thing is, in her, I think it's her letters or her journal, I was skimming around. She says that one of her governesses, one of her personal caretaker, tutor, or whatever, had tuberculosis. Well, maybe that's where she got it from. That's the funny thing. All these people pre-antibiotics were always getting the tuberculosis, and they got it from doing things like in Orwell's case. I think he didn't think he got it there. He believed he'd gotten it somewhere else, acquired it somewhere else. But when he was pretending to be a bum or doing research on being a bum I think down and out in Paris and London, he went to a he got sick with something else. And he went to a Paris public hospital, and one of the things they talk about is next to him, in the bed next to him, is a guy who's dying of tuberculosis, and he's getting cupped. Like where they suck your blood out of your back with hot air in a cup or something, and doing crazy stuff. And maybe he got it there. He's talking about the guy coughing all the time. So, and this one, her super genius, noble parents hired a tubercular governess for her. One of them, she had more than one governess as she was growing up, but one of them had tuberculosis, and then later she got tuberculosis. It's one of those things. All right, and by the way, Maupassant, he had syphilis. His brother had syphilis. He and his brother both had syphilis, and he died of it. And people think maybe it was congenital. I mean, maybe the mom, I guess, we would infer that the mother had syphilis, and then they got it from the mom. But the mom, I think, outlived him. I don't know. He died young. I think late 40s, early 50s. And before he died, of course, he had, psychological problems. He ended up shut up in an insane asylum. So, and it seemed like the part where you go crazy happens quickly. Because he was writing and doing fine, and then in the space of a few years, boop, he's in a insane asylum, locked away, and then dies there. It's a bummer. So, a girl dying of tuberculosis is supposedly searching for the appropriate custodian of her cool teen diary, and the person she's feeling out is himself on his way to die of a different disease, syphilis. Oh boy, it's like typical. It's like 19th century situations. We have different situations nowadays, but that's like a funny 19th century situation. So you're wondering, wait a minute, when is he going to get to the point? He said he was going to explain, he was going to relate this somehow to the Franco-Prussian War and the list of entrees with dog, horse, cat, and rat meat. I'm getting there. Just be patient, okay? I'm getting to it. So how it comes up is they exchange back and forth, and she's being very like weird and flirtatious in her letters, and she doesn't know what he looks like. This is 19th century. It's 1880 something. I don't think his photographs have been published anywhere. He's working still at the French version of the Ministry of Education, and he's moonlighting as a writer. He's working hard. He's got a lot of output. He's doing better on the stories than I am on these podcasts, I think, in terms of frequency. But I think, of course, I'm biased. I think my podcasts are the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme of audio podcasts, all right? But like I said, I'm biased. So they go back and forth. But one of the things was funny. So this is not the first letter now. I'm looking at the Viking book again. March 1884, from RDG to Guy de Maupassant. So, your letter, sir, did not surprise me, and I did not entirely look forward to what you seem to think. For one thing, I did not ask to be made your confidant. That would have been a little too simple-minded. And if you have the time to reread my letter, you will see that you failed to take the trouble of appreciating the ironical and disparaging tone in which I spoke of myself. You are good enough to reassure me that your Gaulois correspondent was a man. So here she's referring to the person who'd written to the newspaper, to him, care of the newspaper, and he'd replied to the newspaper. I thank you for that reassurance, but as my jealousy was altogether of a spiritual nature, it hardly matters. Really? To answer me by confiding in me would, you say, be idiotic, considering that you do not know me? Sir, would it shock you if I said to you without warning that King Henry IV was dead? The laughter is mine. As a matter of fact, since you seem to think that I asked for your confidence by return post, for you to answer by unburdening yourself a little would have been a very witty fashion of amusing yourself at my expense. Had I been you, I should have done so, for I am sometimes very gay, although I am often sad enough to dream of exchanging confidences by letter with an unknown philosopher and sharing his impressions of the carnival. Remember, these letters are considered super cool, all right? On the cover, they're telling you, you want some Marie Bashkirtseff letters, the Guy de Maupassant? We got them. They're in this book. All right, the part I'm getting to is relevant. Your last Gaulois... Sorry, I may be mispronouncing it. Gaulois. It was one of the newspapers for which Maupassant wrote. Okay. Your last Gaulois article was extremely well done and deeply felt. Those 2 columns were worth the 3 readings I gave them. On the other hand, what a piece of hack writing is that story of the old mother who avenges herself on the Prussians. The story published at about the time you were reading my letter. Wait, does she complain about it more next page? No. That seems she's more to the letter. That's not the whole letter. She goes on and on. I read you about maybe 2/5 of the letter. But so they say hack letter about an old mother who kills Prussian soldiers, takes revenge, and kills them. So Wikipedia, for all its failings, it has a chronological bibliography of Maupassant stories. Okay, so it's Guy de Maupassant bibliography. You look it up. So they have the list of short stories published by year is part of that bibliography. Where's the whole? Everything's published by year. Okay, they tell you everything published by year. Short stories is the first section, and they go by year. So because the letters are dated in this book, so they say March 1884. So I can go to 1884, and they have a bunch of stories listed. Most of them, there are no Wikipedia entries, right? So we have Adieu, Berthe, Bombard, Coco, Charlie, Découverte, Garçon un bac. Actually, they're all in French. Sorry, the titles are all French. Like Yvette is the last one. I don't read French well, so I'm butchering the titles, the pronunciation, I'm sure, okay? But, so they have 5 that they have entries for, all right? They have La Mère Sauvage, La Parure, La Patrone, La Pure, And then Tribunal Rustiques. Pronunciation terrible, okay? So I clicked on all of them. And, of course, I read the one that turned out to be the one she's talking about, the one that Bashkirtsev was complaining about or denigrating. I saw the entry for that one last. It's La Mère Sauvage. So La Mère Sauvage is, in English, it's called Mother Savage. Okay? La Mère, the mom, I guess. Sauvage, Savage. It was published, they say, published on 3rd March of 1884. So it's a story. Two people are hunting, and then one tells the other a story about something that happened during the Franco-Prussian War. Okay, so there's a woman, and her son volunteered at age 33 to go fight. 33, a little bit old to volunteer to fight in a war in the 1800s, in my opinion. But what do I know? Okay, so her 33-year-old son, and those 33, the Masonic weird significant number. Does that mean anything? I don't know. I remember one of the letters in this book. I'm tapping on the book again. There we go. One of the letters in this book is Maupassant telling somebody who invited him to join the Freemasons that he can't join the Freemasons because he don't want to join secret societies. Good on him. I support. But anyway, so the 33-year-old guy volunteers to go fight in the Franco-Prussian War, and she knows his unit that he got assigned to. And then the area where she and he had lived, where she still lives, is occupied by the Prussians. And the Prussians they put 4 young soldiers on her farm in her house. They have to live there. She has to feed them. Okay. So they seem like they're nice. They're respectful, even though they're like living in her house, against her will. They're respectful enough, and they seem to get along. She's always asking them for news about her son's unit, and they're always saying, we don't know anything. They're like low-level people, okay? And one day, she gets a letter from one of the other soldiers in her son's unit that says, sorry, Madame Sauvage, your son, I know I was with your son. We were comrades in arms. Your son was killed in battle. He is now dead. All right. So she is distraught. That same day, the 4 Prussians bring home a live rabbit, and they kill it in front of her, and it's for the dinner. I guess they think they're being nice. They're contributing to the pot for the meal. They're contributing meat, okay? And it's during the Franco-Prussian War. Maybe meat's running low. They got a rabbit. Maybe, I don't know, did they buy the rabbit? Did they hunt and kill the rabbit outside on the fields or whatever? They got a rabbit, and it was a live rabbit. They killed the rabbit in front of her for the meal, okay? And she doesn't eat that night. This is Wikipedia says this. Is it in the book? La Mère de Sauvage, or La Mère, Mother Savage. I'm looking now back to the Viking book. In time of war, this book, the Viking book, has in time of war 3 stories: Old Milan, a coup d'état, and Boule de Suif. Okay, the one that we're talking about, the dumpling. The butterball. It has like the famous ones, like the necklace, also super famous. But it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't have the savage, the Mother Savage, or Mother Savage rather. So what she does is that night she doesn't eat any of the rabbit or any of the other food, and she gives them extra straw for the loft in the barn. They're sleeping in the loft in the barn, not in the actual house. I guess that's nice. They're not forcing their way inside the home. I guess. She gives them extra straw for bedding. And then basically she sets the barn on fire to burn them alive. And she has her son's rifle. I guess he had multiple guns, or the army issued him a military firearm, and he left his hunting rifle at home or whatever. She had her son's gun. She's standing guard outside the burning barn and making sure that they don't get out. Right. Where's the loft in the house? Maybe loft inside the house. So she may burn her own house down. I think she burned her own house. I don't think it was the barn. My bad. Yes. Okay, so I haven't read the story, sorry. And it's not in this book. I have collected stories of Maupassant, but packed away again, so I can't easily check it. I could have found a version on archive.org. Okay, so revision to my description of the story. Here's a revision. They're living in her house, inside her house, in the loft part of her house, and she gave them extra straw in the loft part of her house to sleep on, to make them more comfortable. All right. I don't know, no cushion, no pillow. They stuff the straw into a pillowcase where they wrap it somehow and where they're sleeping on bear straw. I don't know. I haven't read the story. But anyway, and then I guess she sets her house on fire with them inside. She's staying outside. Her son's rifle, his spare rifle, his hunting rifle, whatever. He didn't take it with him to go serve in the military. She's staying out there to see if they escape. They're screaming, dying in the fire. And then when it's all done, she tosses the rifle into the burning building, home or barn, whichever it is. I believe now it's the home. And it's loaded, and in the fire, the heat causes the rifle to discharge. So it's a shot. And then everyone hears the noise, and including other occupying Prussian soldiers, and they rush to the scene, and she tells them what she did, and then they shoot her a lot, kill her. So that's the story. So Marie Bashkirtseff, not a fan of this story. She said it was a hack piece, a hack job. So like not high quality. It's kind of funny. And then there's a lot of things about the Franco-Prussian War that are funny. And when you're reading about it, you're like, oh yeah, French people, French culture. Yeah, I can see it. I can understand that. It's kind of funny. And more of that we'll be discussing in the second half of this episode. There's a lot of other funny things that I've noticed that has come to my attention about the Franco-Prussian War that I want to share with you or learn to relate to you. And I think you'll get a laugh out of some of them too. And maybe some more about Guy de Maupassant. And that's going to be in the second half on Patreon. So if you're not already a Patreon subscriber, I encourage you to seriously consider, weigh the possibilities of how entertained you will be if you become a Patreon subscriber. I upload pretty frequently. More frequently now, it's because audio only, even though I'm in the process of the great migration of moving all my stuff. And I'm still uploading more frequently than I had been before. Because before, I was trying to be Mr. Video Production Guru. I'll go back to that, but I'm going to try to keep up the tempo faster. Anyway, so we're going to wrap up the first half. This is the free public half, and we're going to go to the Patreon. And I encourage you to sign up for the Patreon. But until you do, in the meantime, or if you already have, thank you very much. If you haven't yet, I hope you will. But if you haven't, regardless, please leave a comment or ask a question. Ask a question about what else is in this book. Would you like to see a table of contents? Don't look it up. I'll read it to you. I'll leave it, or I'll reply to you with the text of the contents of this portable Viking version of Guy de Maupassant. I'll reply to you with the text of the contents, maybe, if you want to know the contents. Or you have any question. You want to know what other letters there are. Because, by the way, my experience, I looked up on archive.org, they have the book of Marie Bashkirtseff's letters. Letters of Marie Bashkirtseff, translated by Mary J. Serrano, Serrano, and I think it is from, what's the copyright? 1891, and it's by Castle Publishing Company, but also, Castle, Cassell Publishing Company, and it's Mary J. Serrano. She also translated the journal. So the same translator did both works, but I believe different publishing company, or maybe same publishing company. I don't know. So I looked in there and tried to see if I could see all the Maupassant letters, and I'm clicking through the archive.org now. So, but it's not. They have a lot of letters. They have letters to her cousin, to different various people, to her family members, to her father, and French people. And there's letters where it says, for example, I'm looking at the table of contents of this volume of letters on archive.org, okay, from Marie Bashkirtseff. And it says, like, for example, on page 93, the first one I see like this, to M, full stop, de, and then M, and then a long dash. So old time, they didn't want to disclose someone's full name. They would give like the initial of the name and then a long dash. And so I think M, the first M to M to M. I think the first M full stop is Monsieur or Monsieur, like Mr. And de M full stop de Maupassant, I think. Okay, so but when I click on it, I read it. I understand the translation may be different. It may not. The letters that are in the Viking Portable de Maupassant They may not have been translated by Mary Serrano, may have been a different translator, but the events they reference and things like that is totally different. So I don't know if the letters in the book of letters of Marie Bashkirtsev, the ones to and from this, actually they're all two letters, no from. Okay, the letters to M to M. I don't know if they're the Maupassant letters. I can't tell for sure. I haven't made an exhaustive study, but they don't seem to match up with any of the letters that she wrote to him that are in the Portable Viking, de Maupassant. So I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on there. So there may be some other place online to find all the letters back and forth between them, but I don't know where it would be. All right. So, geez, I was signing off, and here I go. Another few minutes of blah 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 blah. Okay. So please consider signing up to the Patreon if you haven't already, and also please like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Give me some help, man. You know, help me extend my reach. I want to get my reach out there. It's not easy, you know. It's not easy getting subscribers. If I looking back on it, if I wasn't doing something else, I should have started doing this during COVID. It seems as though more people were looking for dishwasher loading listening type podcasts at that time than are now. And people seem maybe they're locked into listening habits. But I've changed my listening habits, so I think there's some churn, C-H-U-R-N, like turnover. I used, Jocko Willink. I used to listen to Jocko Willink. I haven't listened to Jocko Willink in a long time. The crazy thing was I missed my chance. I didn't cancel my subscription. It rolled over. So I could listen to it for another year. It's a secret, the only for the subscribers, not the public stuff, the secret stuff. I could listen to that for like another year, but I just don't feel any interest. And there's others that I've stopped enjoying and no longer listen to that I just a while ago I really was into. But in my case, I'm sure you won't end up like that. You'll stick by me. You'll enjoy my content for the entire foreseeable future, for the duration. All right, because I'm always changing. There's fire in motion here. I'm not just sticking with one thing. I did video. I did not do an audio. I did soldering, and then one of the things is book wrapping, things like that. There's a lot of variation here. It doesn't get boring over here in bleep, bleep, bloop, bloop land. There's always something new, all right? Okay, I'm going to stop for now and go on to the Patreon. Take care.